My name is Jacob Peltier. I am the program director over at Long Term. I have worked at St. Christopher's since 2012, and I pretty much have worked at every single position in primary, admissions, long term, until then.
My name is Ryan Ellender. I'm a social worker and I'm a therapist here at Extended Care. I've been with St. Christopher's since 2016 in various different capacities, and I've worked here at the Extended Care campus all that time.
So guys will come to the Extended Care program after their 30-day stay at primary. And typically during their time at primary, we'll have a pretty good picture of what it is that we're trying to work with. If a guy has a mood disorder, if a guy has a personality disorder, or if there's just concerns. A lot of things can be substance induced, and so if we're looking at psychosis, it may just go away over time, but we kind of need to keep a close eye on that, and it takes more than 30 days to get an accurate picture and to do testing that is reliable. And so when they come over to us, it's more about like what type of program, what type of regimen do they need in order to be successful over the long run. And so we're working with our psychiatric team to kind of give us a heads up on if the medications are where they need to be. And we also have kind of our eyes and ears with the techs that are letting us know what this guy's behaviors are, if he's able to be compliant, whether he's living a healthy lifestyle or not. And we have our clinicians working with them to identify what their personal goals are, what their investment actually is in getting better, and what their understanding is of what the actual problem is. Because you can imagine with guys with addiction and dual diagnosis, it's hard to know what actually is the problem, what's primary, what's causing their discomfort. So really Extended Care is a time where people kind of figure out like, what am I really working on here, and kind of piggybacking on that investment that they got in primary of, I'm stable now, I want to change, but what do I need to do about it? But also you still get guys that are really trying to figure out of what is wrong here, and so they may need a little more time to figure that out.
So typically the first sort of section of the Extended Care program is about 6 weeks long, and it's really heavily focused on therapy. So the clients spend the majority of their day in groups. We do have some structured downtime, but they do a lot of group therapy, a lot of individual therapy. We have clinicians that help them develop DBT skills. We have clinicians who focus on CBT. We also try to do some specialized groups. So I do an experiential group. We have art therapy. We do some psychoeducation groups. And then they also do some peer-led groups. They'll do a morning meditation together. They also do evening community groups where they're able to sort of discuss things that are going on in the community, hash out any issues they might be having interpersonally. And so that's really their job for that first 6 weeks of Extended Care is therapy.
So I think the benefits of coming to a long-term program are pretty obvious. Instead of just having a guy 30 days, he makes all these decisions of like, this is what I want to do. We kind of help them actually execute on their promises. And I think that's something that family members and even the guys themselves will take note of in their lives of like, there's been a million times where I've made this promise to, I'm going to do this, or things are going to change this time, and they mean it, and they really do. I don't think that any guy comes in here with the intention of making their life worse or anything like that. It's just, they don't know how hard it is to be that consistent with a major change in life. And so having all these step downs and kind of slowly handing them the reins, I think makes them more successful in the long run, because they've started to do it themselves, and odds are that they'll keep it up if we really do spend all this time and make a very positive experience for them. I think if they're able to leave here with a job in tow, that they're mentally stable, that they're physically feeling good, that their relationships are a different quality than what they used to be, and just it's much nicer to be in your head at the end of the day. And there's no way that somebody can go through the entire program with not having addressed or having an idea at least of this is what I should be doing, and taking responsibility for if things do get bad, it's probably because I stopped doing this, or it's probably because A, B, and C. And they'll kind of know what style of life it is that they need to live in order to feel the way they did while they lived here. And so that's why I think long-term is probably the most beneficial for guys, because they have not just said things and they've not just been educated on things, they have this experience of being sober for an extended amount of time. Because I think the biggest fear for me, you'll see these guys that will kind of blow out of treatment, or they'll have these limited experiences with sobriety, is that their experience with sobriety is actually negative. Or their experience with, medication is negative because they don't have the actual lifestyle behind it. It was hard for me to adjust to my meds. It was really uncomfortable the whole time, and it was miserable. I got sober and I didn't like it. And so when you have somebody relapsing, it's harder to convince them to come back because they haven't had this positive experience. Last time I got sober, it was miserable. I don't want to, I don't want to go back to that. And so I think having this long-term experience of that was something I'd like to get back into my life. And I think that's, you just see it in your alumni, people who really are able to take pride in what they've done here, people who, even if they do have a slip in the long run, they'll come back and be like, things were better when I was taking care of myself, or when I had this really good program of action in place. And I think that really is our goal at the end of the day. And I think St. Christopher's does an amazing job at instilling that in the guys. And so that's why, I've been here for so long, is that I believe in what we do and how we do it.
I agree. I think that's the special thing about St. Christopher's, and that's sort of what sets us apart from a lot of other places, and that's sort of the magic of it, is what goes on out there, what goes on with them, with each other. I doubt that if after a guy graduates and he's been here for 6 months, in a year or two, he probably won't be able to remember a single thing I ever said to him, but he's going to remember how he felt being here, and he's going to remember the bonds that he made with some of these friends that he might stay in contact with, for years to come. And so that's really the magic, I think, of extended care. These guys are in the trenches together in the beginning. They get healthier together, they get better together. They come from all different walks of life, and they sort of get to learn from each other. They each bring different strengths to the table, and they learn from each other, and they grow together, and it's just really special. It's a really special place to work and to be a part of.
All right. I have two favorite groups at Extended Care. My first favorite is their caseload group. And so it will be all members of the same caseload, so they all have the same therapist. They're sitting in there with a guy that knows them better than anybody else. Their group leaders are able to connect individuals with each other because they kind of have a better understanding of what that particular individual's struggles are. And they know who can relate to who, and they kind of have a better feel for, I can join these two members at the same time. And it really does a world of wonder for guys who are like, well, I struggle with anxiety, I struggle with depression, so I don't know if I can relate to somebody who is struggling with schizophrenia. I don't know if I can relate to somebody who comes from, a different background than me. And then so having the therapist in there to facilitate it, actually you guys are a lot more similar than you think, and they have this experience of maybe I'm not so different after all. And it's very different from just strictly doing chemical dependency, because you'll have guys over-identify it as, oh, I'm an addict and I can only relate to addict. It's joining people on a more human level. And my other favorite group that we do with them is their full house group. And so that's where guys will kind of find their voice. And I think it's where staff takes a back seat. We observe, we make sure that things don't get too crazy. But they're able to find their voice. They're able to talk about, this is what I think the community needs right now. These are my concerns that I have. And it's not steered by a staff member, so it's not as performance-based, or it helps them take ownership of their own treatment. And so that's where you'll find guys be the most proud of their accomplishments of actually, I went in, I provided a solution, I took some ownership over the problems of the community. And if you talk to most of our alumni, that's usually what they're referring to whenever you see them kind of beam with a little bit of pride of like, when we were in the house, we had this whole structure that we implemented, and they get real proud of their accomplishments that happen in full house group. And I think a lot of that is just that giant transition from, failure to launch, kids growing into an adult of just like, this is our community, this is what we want to do with it. And so I think the guys that really take flight in there usually have good chances of success.
I agree about the caseload groups. They're really special. I think some of these clients are here for months and months and months together, and having those groups a couple of times a week, they really do connect, and they get to process what they're actually going through now, because this process is difficult. A lot of them are going through a lot of different things. A lot of them will experience things in real life here. They'll go through tragedies in their personal life, things will be happening with their families, and it gives them an opportunity to really connect and process that stuff here, with the same group of guys, a real small knit, tight knit group, and it can be really special. My favorite group to do is experiential therapy. I like to get the clients moving around the space a lot, maybe make them a little uncomfortable. Sometimes we'll do some improv, sometimes we'll do some role playing, and it just gets them moving. The whole theory of it is that like your emotions live in your body, and so moving around and getting some of that out can be really good. And so sometimes we have a lot of fun with that. I think the client's favorite group though is art therapy. We have art hanging all over the place here. Some of these guys are really talented, and so they're always asking for more art therapy. So yeah.